In this episode of Vinyl Haul, I've got a little Doom, but mostly trad and death metal, 4 new releases along with some older ones, including at least one demo collection. Definitely got some good stuff here, so stick around. First up is the second studio album from once Canadian and now Finnish epic heavy doom band Smoulder. This is Violent Creed of Vengeance, released in 2023 by Cruz del Sur Music. So a crunching riff alongside galloping bass and drums open the album, leading us to the heady siren call of Sarah Ann, whom many of you would also know as a regular host on Banger TV. She does have some processing here in her vocals, giving them a more distant but still present voice. I dig it, and more importantly, it adds to the epic doom that this band is often pretty good at. Definitely an overall increase in speed from the last record. Likewise, the guitar tone is sharp with melodic hooks. There's also a slight gothic quality here that vaguely reminds me of Paradise Lost, though the spirit of this band overall seems more inspired by acts such as Manila Road and Cirith Ungol, but again, speedier and with those fantastic female vocals. Some of the twin harmonic riffs might also bring classic era Maiden to mind, but not excessively so. And I'm really digging a lot of the bass fills I'm hearing. Also, we have a guest on this record. On the track Victims of Fate, we have an appearance from English science fiction and fantasy writer Michael Moorcock, doing some narration. He's best known for his novels about the character Elric of Melnibone, novels that were big in the 1960s and 1970s, but continue even to this day. Pretty prolific guy. You should check him out. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is classic black. All right. This also comes with an A2 poster of the album art. There you go. We also have a 4-page booklet here. Picture of the band on the front. Some credits and thanks on the reverse. And of course, lyrics for you. In case you like words. I like words. Anyways, favorites on this one include Violent Creed of Vengeance, great song. Also The Talisman and The Blade, and especially Spellforger. I mean, Sarah Ann is on fire on that one. Best I've ever heard her. Also digging the closing 10-minute epic track Dragon Slayer's Doom, which showcases a lot of this band's range. Anyways, although there are no really abrupt musical changes here, there are some moments of speed, tracks that are a little more focused, and maybe there's even a slightly heavier record here than its predecessor. I remember finding the last album okay, but not really blown away by it. But Violent Creed of Vengeance is undeniably a noticeable step up and an overall enjoyable listen. Enough so that I'm planning on revisiting the older material and giving it another chance. So yeah, check into this one. Next is the second EP from Malaysian Black Death band Blasphem Machine. This is Salvation, originally released on cassette in 2015, but now reissued, possibly for the first time on vinyl in 2017, by Slaughterhouse Records. So we've got some brutal death metal, but with a black metal tinge. The brutality almost seems inspired by Bolt Thrower, but maybe also Hellhammer. There's a grinding dirge to it all, for sure. Loving the background female screams in Temple of Isolation. Also, production here is lo-fi, but not really bad, though the guitars have a muffled distortion to them. Then again, a lot of war metal also has that too. I should also mention that what differs here from the original cassette release are the bonus tracks, all taking up side B of the record. They include 2 cover songs, Into Damnation Eternal from Black Witchery and Funeral Rites from Sepultura, plus a few songs from their 2012 demo. The demos are decent, but the side A songs are simply heavier and more brutal, but it's nice to have those bonus tracks along for the ride. Vinyl variant on this one is classic black. It is limited to 300 copies worldwide. Also have an inner sleeve with some credits for you and some lyrics on the reverse. And it also comes with a small poster, in case you dig the artwork there. There it is again. Favorites on this one, definitely Temple of Isolation, great song. Also Heathen's Fire and Leviathan. And I'm even finding the cover of Funeral Rites to be a real step up from the original, so you should definitely check that one out as well. So blackened death metal with occult themes and strong war metal vibes from the depths of Southeast Asia, which is definitely a new scene to me. Feel free to let me know in the comments of other great bands from this region. As for this release, it has a surprising amount of variety. I mean, nothing moves at the same speed, there's a good amount of riffs, albeit occasionally sloppy ones. Some blasty drums and lots of ritual sounds like bells and chants with deep guttural vocals throughout. Still no full-length album from this band, and although Metal Archive says they're still active, I haven't been able to find any mention from or about them on the internet since about 2018 or thereabouts. If you know their current status or if they have an actual album in the works, you should definitely let me know that. We'd definitely like to hear more from this band. Also, much thanks to my pal David Ingram for sending me this record. Thanks, Dave. Next up is the debut studio album from Italian heavy metal band Vultures Vengeance. This is The Night Lore, released in 2019 by Gates of Hell Records. So definitely some melodic heavy metal here, but with clear influences from Judas Priest and Cirith Ungol. Really digging the melodic lead guitar trade-offs and the overall quality of riffs in general. Vocals are especially notable with a style similar to Blackie Lawless, but filtered through an American power metal delivery. Tony Steele can also really hit some high screams, though his voice typically sits at about mid-range. Some folks are hearing an Iron Maiden influence here, but I think that's overstating things a bit. Perhaps some Arch-era Fate's Warning, along with faint hints of early Queensryche, might be closer to the mark, at least instrumentally. Slower tracks can also take on a doomier, yet still melodic vibe, though there are definitely no ballads here. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is Sea Blue. It is limited to 500 copies. Also comes with a printed insert with some lyrics, as well as more lyrics, and a picture of the band. As for favorites, definitely a great spark from the Dark, killer song, also The Night Lore, and Chained by the Night. So typically, you might expect bands like this to come out of the US or the UK, but instead, you're getting an Italian metal band with some strong power metal leanings, some older production sound, some compelling guitar work, and overall a very ambitious debut record. Thanks go out to Rick over the Dreadful Minutes YouTube channel for sending me this record to check out. Perhaps you should check it out as well. Next is a demo collection from American heavy metal band Rough Cutt. This is the Fiddler Sessions 84, released in 2019 by Deadline Music. So Rough Cutt was one of those LA bands, much like London, who had members who later went on to fame, in their case Jakey Lee, Claude Schnell, and Craig Goldie. But unlike London, they did get a taste of some fame for a few years before losing their major label deal and losing their singer to Quiet Riot. But I gotta say, I'm a big fan of that debut album of theirs, and there's definitely some of that on this record. Anyway, side 1 of this one has early versions of tracks that would later appear on that 1984 self-titled debut album, whereas side 2 has songs not on any studio album, so totally new material to me. The Fiddler Sessions were previously released on CD back in 2008, along with additional tracks Street Gang Livin' and Motive for Love, along with other material, but likely not here because they couldn't fit those other 2 tracks onto the vinyl. Either way, this is the first time on the format for these sessions. Anyways, right away, the sound quality here is actually really good and practically studio level, but maybe it needed some slight polish. At any rate, way above typical demo quality. My guess is that this is the material that Ronnie James Dio heard when he decided to help develop this band, but also he co-wrote some of the material and he even took them on tour. They also shared a label in Warner Brothers, and this band had Judas Priest producer Tom Allom produce their debut record. So again, Rough Cutt had their shot. Just a shame they lost it. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is red. It is limited to 300 copies. Yep. As for favorites, definitely the song Take Her. It's great on the original album. It's great here as well. Also Dreamin' Again and Cut Your Heart Out. Also, one thing I found out in the liner notes is that Paul Shortino, their singer, was 10 years older than everyone else in the band, which I wouldn't have suspected, but Maybe that also explains his older musical roots and his bluesy style of vocals. Hear a little bit of Janis Joplin in there, for one. Also, fun fact, guitarist Amir Durock was later in industrial nu metal band Orgy. That's kind of fun. Anyways, a great collection of early material from a solid band with an incredible singer, who also played Duke Fame in This Is Spinal Tap, if I hadn't mentioned that in previous videos. If you dig their first album as much as I do, this purchase is basically a no-brainer, but it's also a good sampling of a band that should have been as big as fellow scene mates Rat or Dokken, but simply weren't. Anyways, definitely glad I picked this one up. Next up is the debut studio album from Canadian death metal band Serpent Corpse. This is Blood Sabbath, released in 2023 by Temple of Mystery Records. So the album opens up with a distorted bass rumbling overlaid with an acoustic bit, giving a proper amount of creepiness, then straight into a very thrashy passage reminiscent of Slayer mixed with some classic Swedish death metal. Overall, the riffs throughout the album are simple but crushing and occasionally hooky, notably in the choruses. Influentially, there's a lot going on here. I mentioned Swede death, but you can also toss in some early Autopsy, also a pinch of crust punk, and also huge strains of Celtic Frost. Also lots of D beats here, but enough switch-ups to keep it from being predictable in that sense. Vocals are growly and shouty, filtered through a great deal of echo and reverb, which brings in a bit of the cavernous. Production is also somewhat raw, but not bad by any means. Also, some track segments skitter into Death Doom territory, though it's those parts in which I hear the Celtic Frost influence the most. Lots of slow, head-banging moments to be had as a result. Album closes out as it begins with the same haunting acoustic riffs and distorted rumbling in the background. Dig the book ending there. Anyways, vinyl variant here is limited edition orange. There you are. It is in an unspecified number of copies. I didn't see any numbers for this anywhere. Also have an insert with some lyrics and some pics of the band. Also got a lovely sticker, came with the record, as well as a cool patch. Favorites, definitely got them. Nemesis, great track. Also Let the Rats Feed. And of course the title track, Blood Sabbath. All three killer tracks. Anyways, with all of the complementary influences here, none of the tracks managed to get stagnant or samey. Definitely loving the raw and powerful sound here with the interplay of crushing chords and rapid single notes, bringing both the brutal and the melodic. The old school death metal thing, notably from Sweden, is certainly here, but there's so much more going on with this record than simply that. Of course, the riffs are simple and rather caveman, but the change-ups and the overall songwriting here show a strength to this band, and I can only imagine better things to come on the second record. However, I'm definitely not disappointed with this one, not in the slightest. It's a respectable album from a promising band and will certainly get repeated spins on my turntable. Definitely look into this one. Next is the second studio album from American melodic death metal band Astralborne. This is Across the Eons, released in 2023 by Prosthetic Records. So an acoustic intro quickly transfers to blasty tech chaos and brutal growls, with the occasional weaving in of heavy melodic riffing. Musically, there are certainly nods to bigger melodeath bands like Arch Enemy and Amon Amarth, but also bringing in some celestial/cosmic themes, and turning up the brutality a bit more definitely separates them from those more mainstream-sounding metal acts. Lots of jumping around also between staccato riffing and sweeping dark melodic passages. In fact, the guitar work really stands out in this release with a nice variety of styles and speeds, even with some hints of neoclassical structuring as well as some brief flirtations with power metal. As for the vocals, they run the gamut from roaring to guttural to downright otherworldly. Also, there's a cover tune here, namely December Flower. It's originally done by In Flames. It's early In Flames, of course, and it's fair to say that there's some of that Gothenburg influence on the record as well. Also, like Serpent Corpse, this too is bookended with an acoustic reprise of sorts at the very end, in case you like those. Anyways, vinyl variant for this one is Celestial Rust with black and red hues, which is also considered the first pressing. There you go. Also have an insert, picture of the band, maybe Satan Today, Maybe. Also some lyrics and credits on the reverse. Favorites on this one, definitely Nocturnius, great song. Also Gemini and Paradigm Shift. Also enjoyed the title track, so maybe look into that one as well. And there are music videos for this one, available for War Vessel, as well as Nocturnius, Skybreaker, and Gemini. You can check all those out at the Prosthetic Records YouTube channel. So Astralborne's breed of melodeath certainly has its brutality, but if you're not interested in the mixing in of darker melodic moments, neoclassical elements, and the fantasy lyrics, then Astralborne might not change your mind. However, my mind's all set. I not only dug this album, I'm now wanting to hear that first album. So definitely, give this one a chance. See if it settles well with you. Why not? Next up is the second studio album from American death metal band Outer Heaven. This is Infinite Psychic Depths, released in 2023 by Relapse Records. So lyrically, this album is a prequel to their debut full-length album back in 2018 called Realms of Eternal Decay. So if you're big on stories and lyrical continuity, then you should be excited about this. Likewise, the final track, From Nothingness to Eternity, ends with a subtle reprise of the opening segment to the previous album, but played backwards. Again, a callback to Realms. And if that's not enough, the cover art to this new album directly connects to that of the first album, simply by putting this cover above the other. So that's kind of fun. Anyways, as for the music, there is a notable shift here from the remaining Death Doom leanings on Realms to a more hardcore influenced death metal style, though some of the former does creep in from time to time. Throughout, we get blasty sections, chugging riffs, thrashy moments, and rapid tempo shifts. Even some haunting female vocals at the end of Unspeakable Aura. And it is the surprise bits like this, along with the overall variety from track to track, that help keep the album from being a predictable fusion of the old and the new. But the songwriting is definitely here as well. I mean, it's menacing, it's crushing, it's got riffs upon riffs. Sure, they have their influences, but they've got their own spin on things as well. And speaking of those influences, you're definitely going to hear a little bit of Cannibal Corpse as well as Morbid Angel and Immolation, but mixed with styles that fall more in line with modern acts. And Tomb Mold certainly comes to mind. Definitely catching some Gojira-esque pick scraping here and there as well. As for the vocals, they are roaring and guttural, but they can get shouty at times. Also throw in some cool sci-fi horror lyrics and atmosphere, which I definitely dug throughout in this one. Basically, it sounds like this cover looks. Also in this one, we've got guest vocals by Steve Tucker from Morbid Angel, JR from Pig Destroyer, Alex Jones from Undeath, Brody Utley from Rivers of Nile, and Dave Suzuki from Churchburn. Out of all the guests, I definitely digging Tucker on Star Crusher the most, but also Jones on Palisite Chambers. As for the vinyl variant on this one, it is green. It is limited to 2,899 copies. Unfortunately, I was not one of the first 500 orders from Relapse.com because I would have also gotten a poster with the Realms of Eternal Decay and Infinite Psychic Depths fused artwork. If you got that, you could definitely tell me in the comments how cool that is. Anyways, favorites on this one include Liquefied Mind, Star Crusher, and Palisite Chambers. Also digging the album closer, From Nothingness to Eternity, with its slow brutality and some faint nods to God of Emptiness from Morbid Angel. Great stuff. Also, we got music video for the track Rotting Stone /DMT, as well as a lyric video for Liquefied Mind. Check those out at the Relapse Records YouTube channel. So Infinite Psychic Depths brings us a sci-fi metal offering, mixing classic and modern death metal, but without sounding like the same old, same old. Tracks have their own identity and are more often than not pretty memorable. I talked about the record before this on the last episode of Hook Me Up, and I did like that one, but I'm finding the new album to have a lot more replayability for me, and that'll likely continue for quite a while. Definitely a strong release. Check into it. So just a couple other records I picked up that I have less to talk about, but are certainly worth showing. Starting with a split 7-inch with New Jersey death thrash band Sacrificial Blood and Philly speed thrash band Traitor. In fact, 2 tracks from the first and 1 track from the other. Picked this one up at the merch table for Traitor, who were fantastic live, by the way. As for this 7-inch, I definitely love the Sacrificial Blood artwork. Clearly a wink and nod to the 80s arcade game Sinistar, which they also sampled throughout the aptly named track Beware I Live. Followed by their cover of the girls' school song Hellraiser. Of the two, Beware I Live is probably my favorite. The Trader side has the track Weapon X, also a speed-laden song with some fun sing-along choruses. And speaking of Trader, I will be discussing their debut full-length album, Last Hope for the Wretched, in the next episode of Vinyl Haul, since I did buy that at their merch table as well. So definitely check back in for that. And just to show you a little bit of this. Classic black. There you are. And we saw the artwork to both sides there, but the inside has track listings, pictures, liner notes, all of that. So there you go. Also, I did stop by my local record shop here in Burlington, Vermont, one of 3 of them, actually, and I picked this up. This is Dokken with their Dream Warriors 12-inch single. Of course, the song is from the 3rd installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, hence why you see Freddy Krueger on the cover. On the B-side, we've got the song Back for the Attack, which was exclusive to this single, until it became a CD bonus track in 2009 on the CD reissue of the album of the same name, which originally didn't have this song, if that's not a little confusing. Pretty likable track, but I can also hear how it might not have measured up to the other songs recorded during the same time, which was for Under Lock and Key. The single ends with an edit of Paris is Burning from Dokken's first album, Breaking the Chains. Basically, the whole solo intro is gone. That, and it really does sound a lot better. Likely it was remastered. Anyways, cool find, and a single you don't often see in the wild. Of course, it is on Classic Black as well, with the classic Elektra labels. So there you go. So that's what I got, but how about you? Any recent buys that you're digging right now? Or maybe planning on buying in the future? Definitely let me know. Also, let me know if you're currently spinning anything I mentioned here. And of course, your opinions on those records. Of course, any and all music suggestions in general are also welcome. You might have those, you should leave them, and anything else that makes sense in the comments below. Of course, if this is your first time to my channel and you're interested in who I am and what I do, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting. I also cover the subjects of classic and modern metal in general. If you like the sound of that, definitely subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Give this video a like, and share my other videos with a few of your friends. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.